Welcome into our Locked On NBA Insider Report for the NBA Draft Lottery. Rylan Stiles from Locked On Thunder joining us only one time, but they have two picks, and one of them is just about as good as it gets at number 2 for Oklahoma City. How pleased were you with at least one of those picks coming up so high for you guys?
Yeah, this was actually the third most likely scenario. The most likely scenario was that the Thunder would fall to pick 6, and that would have been a disaster. So realistically, going from 6 to 2 is a big deal. And for the Thunder in this draft class, it's all about getting that top 3. There's a consensus top 3. Although Sam Presti did say today before the lottery that their draft board is not consensus whatsoever, and he hopes it never is consensus. So maybe there's a trick up his sleeve, so to say. But just having the leverage of having the number 2 overall pick is huge because only one player can go before you, and you really control the draft after about the 5-minute mark on draft day.
And it's cool because it's one of those years where not everybody's looking for one guy, right? Like there's 2 to 3, there's 3 names out there that people are kind of all mixed up about depending on who their team is. Is there one guy that definitely fits perfectly with the Thunder, or are they just going to take, one of the 2 best available guys?
Well, the Thunder really need a center, to kind of tie in this rebuild, although they're still in that mode of their rebuild where you're not looking necessarily for position, just best player available. However, Chet Holmgren not only fits the center need, but also the prototype of a player that Sam Presti's looked for a long time, trading up to get Pokashevsky, taking a shot on a guy who's 7 feet with ball handling skills, can block shots. That sounds a lot like Chet Holmgren, only Chet Holmgren's like the brand name version of Pokashevsky. So I think that Chet, if he's there, would be hard to pass up on for Sam Presti.
Is there any possibility that because this pick is in such high demand, they could trade it, or do you feel like they're definitely keeping this?
I think surprisingly enough, there would be a way to trade it. It would just come down to how Sam Presti views Shaedon Sharpe. If you believe him that his board is not consensus, then maybe Shaedon Sharpe, the biggest mystery in the draft, is his guy, and it would be a reach to take him at 2, so it can go into the realm of we get Shaedon Sharpe at pick 5, and then y'all get your guy at pick 2, whether that be Chet or Paolo. But in all actuality, I would imagine that the Thunder just keep this pick and select it 2.
Because you guys have a lot of picks coming up. I think I heard the stat was 17 in the next 5 years. So at some point, they're going to, I assume, trade these away because bodies wise, they can't keep all of them. Obviously, this year, it's going to be some of, the best picks, having the best pick, in the top 3 and being able to choose from one of those 3 guys. Is there, is obviously with the way the roster is constructed, you're getting a really top talent there. In the lower pick, is that someone that could also see some playing time as well for you guys? I mean, right out of the gate.
Yeah, I think that Sam Presti will select it 2, 12, 30, 34. With those 4 picks, I think that if you get selected, you're going to be expected to play in Oklahoma City right away. And of course, also spend time in Oklahoma City with the blue team, their G League affiliate for the Thunder. I would say that the more likely scenario in terms of trades would be 12 instead of trading 2, and maybe even trading up because, as you mentioned, you can't really keep all these picks because you're not going to have enough roster spots. And the Thunder do have a sweetener that they can throw in there to move from, say, pick 12 to pick 10, 9, or 8, somewhere in that range, if they just throw in Lou Dort's an expiring contract, or maybe they can get away with throwing in Baisley, pick 12, 34 and a future first-round pick or something like that for the future. So I think that they could move up from 12, but if I had to bet right now, I think the safe option is they hold pat at 2 and 12.
If they do move up and they are trying to add maybe a little bit lower towards that section of the lottery pick, what kind of player are they looking for in that kind of role? Obviously, we know what those top picks are about, but when we look a little in the mid rounds, what's a player that, they're either really keyed in on or some kind of uniform player, like whether it's pure athleticism or what they're looking for?
Yeah, they're a very defensive focused team right now, trying to get better on the defensive end. They were really good last year defensively for a bad team and looking to kind of instill more of those traits in their future teams. I will say that I think that these 2 picks would be tied together. If you go more project heavy with a Chet Holmgren at number 2, maybe you go a safer route at 12. If you go with Jabari Smith Jr., who many expect to be a high level impact player from day 1, maybe at pick 12, then you take a more mystery project guy that might flame out, but also might pay huge dividends. So I think that the 2 strategies are going to be tied together more so than anything else.
Lots of options and lots of picks for the Thunder. Rylan Stiles from Locked On Thunder. He'll break all of it down for you. So make sure to check that out. I'm Kainani Stevens. This has been Locked On NBA.